QuickBooks Online 2025. Export balance sheet reports to Excel and then use Excel to create a PDF file having multiple reports on one PDF file. Get ready and some coffee because we're learning to save time with QuickBooks Online 2025. Here we are online in our browser, searching for that QuickBooks Online test drive, the free sample company file available to everybody, looking for the result that has Intuit.com and the URL because Intuit is the owner of QuickBooks. We're going to be choosing the United States version of the software, verify that we're not a robot, so they let us in. They're going to test me on it. They're like, dude, you look like a robot, so we're going to make you give a test. And I'm like, I passed your test. A robot couldn't do that. AI can't do that. AI is stupid. I can do it because I'm a person. So I found the bicycles. All right, so we're in the sample company file, Craig's Design and Landscaping Services. We're going to open the reports like we do every time. The reports on the left-hand side. Within the favorites, we'll right-click on that balance sheet to open a link in a new tab. Right-click on the profit and loss to open a link in a new tab. Go into that middle tab, closing up the hamburger, and we'll change that range, going from 010124 tab, 123125 tab. Select the drop down. We want to see it in years. Run it because we want to refresh it, and that's what you do when you want to refresh something. You run it. And now we have 2024 and 2025 side by side. Let's do the same process for the tab to the next side. That's closing the hamburger. Change the range to the same time frame, 0101. 24 tab 123125. We want to see it in years, and then once again refreshing it means a running it. We've got 2024 2025 once again side by side, and now we're going to be taking a look at the exporting of our reports to Excel, possibly allowing us for further customization, mixing together the concept of having Excel reports on multiple tabs using a PDF printer in order to print all of the tabs on one PDF file, allowing us another option to get all the reports on one PDF. So to do that, let's open up our major balance sheet reports again in a similar fashion that we have seen in prior presentations, that is. Let's go to the reports down below on the left-hand side. I'm gonna start off with that summary balance sheet this time, right-clicking it, opening it, and then tabbing over to the right. And so remember that at the end of the month, at the end of our billing cycle, the quarter or the year, we might wanna provide these reports, say to the clients, or possibly we're gonna need them for year-end tax preparation purposes. When we provide them, we want to make it look as nice as possible. Our options, just quickly, as we've seen in the past, are we can email them one at a time. We can print them to a PDF file. Once they're in our PDF file, we might be able to share them in a cloud drive, such as a OneDrive or something like that. Or we can then zip them from this point and possibly email them so that we don't have a bunch of attachments, but one file with all of them in there, possibly numbering them so that they know which reports we think they should basically be ordering or opening in order. So we also saw that we might be able to get everything on one report by going to the first tab over here, going to the management reports, pulling them in here. But the management reports, although giving us a little bit more customization, is still quite restricted. So now we're going to do the last kind of thing that we could do, which would allow us the maximal range of customization, exporting the reports to Excel, and then using Excel, and you can possibly even use Word as well, in order to make your more customized reports you can provide to external users, this being the most time consuming process if you do substantial adjustments to the reports, however. All right, so just to get an idea of this, we'll do the 3 balance sheet reports we've been working on here, and then we will do the income statement in the future course or section. So let's just do for the year of 2025, going from 010125 to 123125. And let's do our simple customization we've been doing every time, customizing this one. Get rid of the pennies. Negative numbers we want bracketed and red. And then in the header and the footer, I'm going to get rid of the date, time, report basis, and then we will save that. I'm going to save the customization because this is typically what I'd want to do just to get an idea of this every time. We don't have the same groups we had last time because we refreshed every time the screen. So we're going to say this is going to be month end reports. We will add that. And then I'm going to be putting it into that group, and I'm going to put a 1 next to it. 1, save it. And then if I go back to the first tab and we go to the reports, customize reports, refresh the browser so we can see what's happening here. There it is. So now we can open that up, and possibly our process would then be to open this up, change the date range, which would bring us here, and then save it to Excel. And so we're going to put all of our reports on the Excel tab. So what we can do there is hit the drop down and simply export to Excel. Obviously, you need to have Excel to be able to export to Excel. I'm going to choose the folder by just copying this location. And then I'll put that here, bam. And then I'm going to call it reports. Reports, let's say on 12.31.24.25. I need to put dots instead of dashes because I have a Microsoft items and they don't like dashes. So we're going to say, okay. And there we have it. So it should be downloaded. It's been downloaded. So there it is. Let's open it up. Take a look at it. So we're going to open it up in Excel. And of course, you need Excel in order to open it in Excel. I already said that. You know what I'm talking about. So there it is. Now notice the formatting is a little bit different than if I opened it up like in a PDF file. So if I open it up in PDF, it looks like this, where it's more centered and so on. Whereas if you look at it in Excel, it looks like this, and it's a little bit different formatting as well. If I opened it in the Reports tab, the Management Reports area, they have a little bit different formatting. But if I know Excel, I can do a lot more customization once here. So one way you might do that is I might go to the second view over here, to the page layout view. That allows me to see what page it's on. Back to the first view, that gives me this little dotted line to show where it is. So you can see they orientate it up on the top left because that's where Excel basically populates. So it's not exactly centered. So I could work on basically centering it if I want to as part of my customization. So for example, I might put like a row before this. I'm going to insert. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because it's Excel formatting. But if I put a row in front of it and a row behind it, and I make these, I held down Control to select this column and this column at the same time to make them the same width. Now I've kind of centered it. Now the other thing it does by default when I export it is it combines these cells. Sometimes I don't like it doing that because it basically mushed all the cells together, and I'd rather center it a different way so I don't have this big cell, but rather have the two cells. But you can change that by going to the Home tab, Alignment, and change it here if you wanted to. Now it's left aligned. If I wanted to, sometimes I would select these two, right-click, and say I want to format the cells, and I would rather center it using this technique, Alignment, and then horizontal center across. So now it's centering across those two cells, but it didn't like mush the two cells together. They're still separate cells, but it's still centered across them. All right, so then also I can do further changes to like text. So maybe I want to make this header customized. Maybe I want to make it like black and white, or for whatever reason. So I can make the header black and white. So that's a little bit different of a format. I can, of course, change the font if I wanted to have some other font. So now I have all the options on the types of fonts and so on that we can use, which again could give you a big differentiation from other reporting that aren't exporting to Excel, although I have to do that every time. I possibly, maybe I want to put like the underlines here instead of having an underline like this. Maybe I want to use this underline. So I replace all these like with this underline. So I have that little underline, and that allows me maybe if I wanted to, and maybe I want a double underline under this one, a double underline under this one, and now I can take this whole thing and put brackets around it, home tab, font group, and then I could put brackets around the whole thing, so that now you've got that one underline and then the brackets. Maybe I don't need this to be out here so much. Maybe I want to make this a lot smaller. So that I don't have this big cell on this side, so it looks more like that. So there's a lot of stuff that you can clean up. And then sometimes the reports that we generate don't exactly have the exact labeling that we would want, such as this one has bank accounts. Maybe I would rather call it, for external reporting, cash and cash equivalents. Equivalents, which I probably spelled wrong. And then maybe check the spelling on it. Review, spell check. And then I'll format the cell from here to here. How did they do this? They actually put spaces. 1, 2, 3. That's interesting. 1, 2, 3 spaces. 3, 4, 5 spaces. Looks like 6 spaces. Weird. All right, so that's the formatting. So again, you can change things like that, which I can't really change in QuickBooks because it's in there by account type. But for external reporting, that might be a little bit better and more precise of a name. So we can make changes like that. And then if I go to the first tab, and that's just an example. I don't want to go into too much detail, but just a little bit of changes like that could give you a much different look and feel for the report. So here's what it looks like. Now, when I have multiple reports that I put into the same worksheet, I can then print them to the entire workbook, meaning I can print them all at the same time. And instead of using a printer, printing them on paper, I can use this cute PDF printer, which is a type of printer which will just use the printing function to save it as a PDF. If you don't have this, I believe it's free. And I think there's other types of PDF printers. I'm not trying to advertise for one or the other, but I think this is a free PDF printer that you can find and download online if you don't have one, allowing you, anytime you have a printing capacity, to create a PDF file, even if there's not like a PDF option to create a PDF file, which is nice, handy to have. Now, again, we can do a lot more adjustments to the formatting here, but I don't want to get carried away. I just want to note that you can do more adjustments. You could also add a cover page or something like that by simply adding a page in Excel and typing out a cover page, although then you have to do it in Excel. And you could combine Excel together, linking it to Word. Now, there's more complex ways to do that, but that will allow you the maximal functionality of Word, Microsoft Word, and the connection to the reports that you would like to generate, in Excel. Okay, but for us, we're going to just go back on over and leave it as is here, and let's go back on over and just do a couple other reports to see how they would be added in. Let's go to the first tab. Let's go to the standard. Let's open up another balance sheet because that's what we've been working on. Open another balance sheet. This is our vertical analysis this time that we'll do on the standard balance sheet. So let's change the date range 01/01/25 to 12/31/25. Close the ham boogie. Run it to refresh it. Let's select the drop down. I'm just going to say % of the column and run it. And then we'll do some customization and our standard customization. Get rid of the pennies, negative numbers bracketed and red. On the header to the footer, date, time, report basis, gone. Balance sheet, changing the name, balance sheet. This is a vertical analysis. The vertical. All right, my stomach is growling. Someone stole my vegetables. I got vegetables and they stole them. I'm deficient on vitamins right now. You're gonna have to bear with me because it's probably messing me all up. I'm not doing it right because someone stole my vegetables delivery. Anyways, let's go ahead and then export this thing. Oh wait, let's save the customization, and we're gonna put it here, and then this is gonna be number 2, balance sheet vertical analysis. Let's save it. So if I go to the first tab just to check out where that went, where did it go? Donde, where'd who go? It's in the custom reports. Run it to refresh it. We're gonna say it's right there. Boom. All right. So then once I open that up, we can export this one. Now this time I want to get the attachment to not to its own workbook, but attach it to the workbook we already have open. So how can we do that? I'll show you. We will say export it to Excel. And so there it is. Now I can open that up. Well, let's just save it there. Let's save it somewhere. Let's save it here into the transfer folder. And then I'll open it up. All right, so here it is. Now, but I don't want it on this worksheet. I want to put it on the other worksheet in a new tab. So there's a couple ways you could do that. You could go to this other worksheet over here and basically create a new tab and then copy and paste it. But the more efficient way to do it, you have to have both of these open at the same time and then go to the one that you want to transfer from, which is going to be this one. And then on the tab at the bottom, we just right click on it and say that we want to move or copy. And then I'm going to move or copy, and then it gives me the drop down of the open workbooks, which are kind of like the open documents for Excel. I want to copy it to this one, reports, my other one, and then I want to create a copy. So it's going to make a copy of this, put it into the other tab, a tab in the other worksheet. So I'm going to say, okay, do it. So then now it put it over here. So I'm going to pull it from the left tab to the right tab, and there it is. We got the summary balance sheet and then the standard balance sheet, which I'm going to rename balance sheet. Let's just say vert, just to differentiate it from any other balance sheet. So it brought it over. Let's get rid of this other one. I don't need that anymore. Get it out of here. So there's too much stuff happening. All right, so if we did some formatting on this one, once again, I can change the view at the bottom right to this and then back. Now I can see the dotted line, so that's where we're at. Now notice this one has some funny formatting that we can now kind of change. Like this total column, we don't really need that anymore. You can't really get rid of it when it was in QuickBooks, but I could get rid of it now. That's not really helping me out. So I could just select this whole column or row and just delete it. Delete that, get that out of here. That's not useful. It's not helpful, you know? And then I'm going to say, and then I could make these, maybe I'd select these two and make these a little smaller because they're too wide. You don't need to be that wide on that because I'd rather make this one the wide one. And then maybe like we don't like I'd rather use the little underline function, this underline. So all the underlines, I'm going to make them this underline because I think it's better because then I can put like borders around everything so people don't get confused like where their eyes are going, because the whole thing will have borders around it so you can clearly see like where everything is going. But to do that, I have to put the underlines this way. Otherwise, when I put the borders in, it'll like delete the other borders where the underlines were. So I'm just going to say it's kind of tedious. It's kind of a little labor intensive, but the clients will appreciate it possibly. They probably won't. They won't really care, but they'll subliminatively, they'll know the work that you've been doing, and so it'll redound to your benefit. So then let's go, and then I can put borders around the whole thing. Isn't that cool looking? I can make this some kind of other formatting like black and white or something. And, you know, we could change the font if we wanted to or whatever. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not an expert at this. I'm not a design person, but you know what I mean? You can do like cool stuff like that. And then, so that's that. So now if I go to the first tab and I was to say, save the, print the report. Now, if I print the entire workbook, I've got the first and then the second. So now I can print them both on one PDF file and give them to someone on one PDF file with more customization than could even be done in the QuickBooks reports area. Let's do one more just to get the full grasp of this, and that's because we'll mirror what we've done before with a horizontal analysis standard. Let's open up another balance sheet one more time. Uno, vez, más, por favor. Close the burger. Close that hamburger. I'm going to go 01, 01, 25, 12, 31, 25. Selecting the drop down. That looks good. We're going to run it. And let's now say we want to select this drop down. Previous year, dollar and percent change. And then run it because we want to refresh it. And if you want to be refreshed, you need to run. It makes you stinky for a while, but then after you shower off, then you're more refreshed than if you don't run. It seems counterintuitive to run and to refresh yourself, but I'm telling you, you have to. Otherwise, anyway, I don't know. I like to skateboard, but then people think I'm unprofessional. I stopped doing it. People think you're a hoodlum if you skateboard, apparently. You can't be an accountant skateboarding, but you have to do it incognito skateboard. Anyway, horizontal analysis, and horizontal analysis. And then we'll save it. All right, so there we have that. Muy B to the N. Let's save the customization. And we're going to say we'll put that in the group months, and this will be report número tres, por favor. Let's go to the first tab, and we're going to go to the customized reports just to see that the customization is happening. Is it happening? There it is. It is happening. Things are happening here. This is the happening place to be right now. I'll tell you what, things are happening. Did I do it should be red, negative numbers red. That's how I want to see it. Okay then, let's export this to Excel, do our process, export it to Excel. I'll temporarily save it in this pictures folder as number 3, let's just say, and then I'll open it up from that folder. Where is that folder? It's right here. Open it up from there. And then from here, I want to pull it into the reports folder. So I'm going to right click on the tab down below, move or copy. And then I'm going to say I want to copy it into another workbook. Open workbooks displayed in this drop down, the reports workbook. That's where it needs to go. Put it over there. And then it always puts it on the first tab. I don't want it on the first tab. I'm going to just left click and drag it to the right, and then double click on it. That's where I want it to be. That's why I clicked and dragged it that way, just so you know, in case you were wondering, why did you do that? Because that's what I wanted to do. That's where I want it to be. So how do you get something where you want it to be? You click it and you drag it there. And that's how you do it. All right, I'm gonna then check if I go to the, now if I look at the view, it's cut off. It's too fat. It's too fat to fit on a page. That's okay. I'm too fat to fit on things. Sometimes what do? You adjust where you're sitting when that happens. So what I can do then is I can make this a little bit thinner over here. This doesn't need to be that wide, and that's all you got to do. Now, if you couldn't do that, then I could make the page landscape. That's the next option. And then if that still doesn't help, then I could change the font size and stuff like that. But that's the last thing I want to do, because by doing this, I'll have all my reports will be using the kind of the same fonts. And now I can get rid of this total. This isn't helping me. So notice I can say I couldn't do this in QuickBooks, and now like that's ugly. Let's get rid of that. I couldn't do it in QuickBooks, but I can do it there. Why do I need this prior year thing? PY, prior year. That's not cool. I know it's the prior year. It says 2024, and this says 2025. We're not stupid. The current year is the one that has the bigger number. Okay, do I need another indication other than that? I don't think so. My clients can figure that out without this indication. So then let's select this top bit, Home tab. Let's make this black and white. And then again, you could change the font if you wanted to up here. I'm going to select all of these at the same time that have an underline. All of these that have an underline, I'm holding down Control so I can do this more efficiently, more faster. Is that how can you say that? It's more faster this way. That's why I'm doing it, because it's more faster. That's not proper English. You can't say more faster, can you? I don't know. It sounds kind of cool though. I do it. Why do you do it that way? Because it's more faster. Okay? It's more faster. And then I put an underline there. And then I can select the whole thing, and now I can put brackets around it. And then go Home tab, font group, brackets around the whole thing to make it look MUI B to the N. I got 2 letters for you. B, N. How you being? I'm MUI being. Hippies are just being, man. But why just being when you can MUI being? You can MUI being. All right, so now if I look at all of these, we hit the drop down with a cute PDF printer. I can look at the entire worksheet, and now I've got all of these on the same printout. So let's go ahead and print this bad doggy out. We're going to print it, and there we go. And where does it want? Where do we want to put it? I'll tell you where I want to put it. I'm going to put it right there. Okay, and we'll just call it reports. It'll be PDF reports. Okay, and save it. And so now I can go over here, and let's open that one up and check it out. Open it up, check it out. So now we've got all of these on the same page. So again, I can kind of give this to somebody with a little bit more customization and make my own kind of reports. And we could have added like a title page or something like that. Now, I'm not saying this is the best customization to do. I'm just trying to show that you have obviously a lot more customization capability if you export to Excel, and you could integrate this with Word if you wanted to, or add a cover page in Excel or Word. Notice the difference between the format here versus like the format. Let's open this one up. This is just straight out, and it looks pretty clean, looks pretty nice. I'm not, you can say which one you like better or not. I'm not an expert at formatting. I'm just saying if you wanted to format, you could make it look the same, but you can have a whole lot of other options doing with Excel, right? If you're a format expert, and that could really differentiate yourself just a little bit, like just something like just changing the font. Like I say, people like Apple, for example, when Steve Jobs was doing Apple, it's kind of amazing that it seems like the biggest things that he did to really differentiate Apple and stuff was actually on like fonts and things, right? Things that were more visually appealing kind of stuff rather than the numbers, the reports themselves, so just saying, just a little bit, right? Could go a long way. I'm not good at it. It's not my thing. It's not something I'm an expert at, but if you are good at that, you have a lot more options here than in Excel. Than in QuickBooks, and you want to balance out how much added little stuff you might be able to do if you were going to do it that way versus the time it takes to add those things, because you have to do it every time, because it's not going to be something that can be customized and saved as an automatically generated report within the QuickBooks system.